So I am filming a commercial as a repayment for the use of a restaurant right now in leaving Jackson, Colorado. That's what that looks like. The past several months have taught me to be okay with trouble. I'm gonna say something, I'm gonna do something, or I'm not gonna say the right thing, or I'm not gonna do the right thing, and you're gonna get mad at me. And I'm okay with that. I don't want you to be mad at me, but it's a natural consequence of what I do. I'm an iconoclast. That means I am a questioner of traditionally held beliefs. And I question all beliefs. This is not a political party ideology. There are aspects of both political parties I don't agree with. In last week's vlog, which is being released today for me, but you'll be watching this in the future, so a week ago, I talked about how I'm using generative AI for a client. I want to talk about three of the issues that I brought up. One is the moral bankruptcy of the founders of AI, and I think there's a pretty interesting, although consistently depressing, YouTube channel, Instagram, social media channel called A More Perfect Union. And they did a pretty interesting expose on Peter Thiel and on what the AI companies are up to on kind of the macro scale. I'm going to link to that in the notes. I'm also going to link to a podcast episode with Marc Andresson. If you don't know who Marc Andresson is, he is one of two named partners in, I'd argue, the largest VC venture capital firm in the Bay Area. There is no question that he personally is a billionaire. He owns early pre-IPO shares of Facebook and a bunch of other companies that are household names. I'm bringing him up because I think that anybody anywhere needs to listen to what he says, because what he talks about is basically he basically expresses so much of the central ideology of capitalism. I think it's required listening. I don't think you understand where capitalists are coming from unless you are one, unless you know Marc personally. I don't. So I had to get it via Rick Rubin's podcast, which is amazing. I highly recommend subscribing. There's so many good episodes. Marc talks about how a friend of his now works at OpenAI, and he has to run from his home to his work and run back because there's basically so much crime in the Mission District of San Francisco. That used to be worse, by the way, but tech moved in, and now the Mission District is, or what it was called when I lived there, south of Market, has criminal aspects to it. How much of that is the fear of rich people, just manufactured? How much of it is real? I don't know. But here's the thing. OpenAI is a multi-trillion-dollar company. Whatever's causing the crime that those executives or employees fear in the Mission District, in the south of Market District, they can easily solve. They're just choosing not to. If it's unemployment, they can hire people. If it's lack of legitimate housing, they can build free housing, and it won't even put a dent in their profits. They could do that for the entire city of San Francisco. Eliminate homelessness, not because people who are unhoused are shipped somewhere else the way Newport Beach does it, but giving them free housing. Problem gone. Fear assuaged. They don't do that. They would prefer to blame it on other people and not solve the problem so that they don't have to share their vast wealth. What I'm talking about is a perfect segue to what my friend Jeff Tanner called the common good. I want to expand on the common good. Jeff defines it as
a common good as the most good for all people, as evidenced when the most vulnerable are flourishing.
But I also want to include the collective good in that space, meaning good for all people, measured by those on the margins. There's a weird anomaly happening. One of the issues I brought up last week is the green argument, the eco argument against using generative AI. And it looks like this. Each data center uses 10 megawatts of energy, a massive amount of electricity, primarily for the training of AI, but we're not going to get into that nuanced conversation in this vlog. Here's the weird thing. People on the liberal side like to talk about how they are pro-environment, and we need a lot of electricity. They promote electric cars, and that's good because internal combustion engines are bad for the world. The problem is that the electric cars and the AI use enormous amounts of electricity, and that electricity has to come from somewhere. Here's the hypocrisy. The left-leaning liberals, whom I largely agree with economically in this transition phase from capitalism into post-capitalism into whatever economic structure is happening next on our way to abundance, which is not an economy, the liberals make the argument that they want green energy, but when the solar power or the wind farms are placed in places that they don't like, they argue against it, resulting in the weird anomaly that the fascist state of Texas has ridiculously more green energy being generated by wind farms and solar farms than California, which is generally a liberal state. That is a level of logical dissonance that does not compute in my brain. But that's not this question. The question of today is about the common good, the general common good, the overall common good. Specifically, as it relates to ownership, individual rights. I got the COVID vaccine, and I didn't do it for my own health. I'm not super concerned whether I live or die. I know what's going to happen to me when I die. I don't disappear. I'm not going to get into that in this vlog. I got it to protect the health of other people. I saw the common good as a higher good than my own temporary well-being. And yes, when I got my first COVID shot, I had a pretty severe reaction. I had COVID symptoms, and it was actually a pretty enlightening experience. Similar to that moment in the playa when I had the panic attack. It was almost an out-of-body experience. I was very much in my body still. I'm working on the astral projection thing as we speak. But I was able to experience it as, oh, what an interesting experience. I feel the hot flash of my body. I feel the sweat. I feel the tremors. I feel the trembling. I feel my body reacting and fighting and turning on this whole other system that it doesn't normally turn on unless I'm sick. And it was like, interesting. This is the only time I'm ever going to experience this severe reaction to the COVID vaccine. I enjoyed it. Not everybody does that, but for me, it was a pleasurable experience. That wasn't why I got the vaccine. I got it because I wanted to protect people who are immunocompromised. More specifically, I wanted to keep my wife healthy because she works with immunocompromised children. I wanted to keep those children alive because if they get COVID, there's a very high likelihood that they will die. So I got the vaccine to protect those vulnerable children. That's the common good. That's what it looks like applied in my life. How does this relate to AI, you might be asking? Let me tell you. One of the legitimate criticisms of AI, as it's being implemented today, is that it's trained on stolen data, and I say stolen because it was used without the consent of the creators. And I include myself because I'm sure Google trained its AI on my movie algorithm. And they are making money off of it. In fact, they are about to make $100 a month off of me as I use generative AI to create this video for my current client. I understand that AI is coming for a lot of jobs. I understand that we are entering another phase of civilization. In the same way that the carriage makers resisted the oncoming new technology of the automobile, carriages are still made, but they are an incredibly specialized space for basically the Amish and people who want a tour of Central Park on a horse-drawn carriage, which I've done, and it's kind of pleasant. A little overpriced, and honestly, I'd prefer to walk. The carriage is not really a thing anymore. A lot of jobs aren't going to be necessary as AI continues to thrive. People are going to have to find a different way to derive meaning from their life than their ability to contribute to the industrial system. That's a weird idea. What are you if you're not defined by what you do, what you contribute to the industrial, post-industrial technology, information age, whatever? What are you independent of that? That's an interesting question that I think we all need to ask ourselves, because maybe it's not this iteration of AI, maybe it's not the one the United States facilitates, but it's going to come from somewhere. And then humans aren't going to have to work. What are you then, when you don't need a job? Or rather, when the job doesn't need you, when the job doesn't exist anymore? Do you still have any meaning in your life? Is your meaning a value equation? And that equation is determined by your contribution to society in an intrinsically factory-based system? Or is there more? The stolen work. The work was stolen. The authors, the creators of that work, did not suffer meaningful material damage. Are they emotionally damaged? Yes. They and we are at a conflict where we get to choose what direction we want to go as a society. Are we going to continue to cling to the idea of scarcity and ownership and resist the oncoming age of abundance, wherever it comes from, be it spirituality or artificial intelligence? Are we going to resist that because we're afraid we'll be left behind? Or are we going to embrace it? Are we going to use AI potentially to determine better ways to organize civilization that doesn't include scarcity, which, by the way, is one of the main threats that people are afraid of? The people developing these AI companies are becoming billionaires and trillionaires. Elon Musk was the first, but he's not going to be the last. Others are coming. Now that that mile marker has been passed, like the 4-minute mile in sprinting or running or whatever, the mile marker has been passed. There was once a time where a billionaire was one person was the first billionaire ever. I think it might have been John D. Rockefeller, but I'd be very surprised if it wasn't a king of England or some other space like that. Probably the king of Spain during the conquest of the Americas. We get a choice. Some of us are gonna be dragged along kicking and screaming. Some of us are gonna see it, and rather than becoming apparent Luddites, people who fight against new technology, they're gonna embrace it. We can use AI to make our lives faster and simpler. We can use agents to do things we don't want to do anymore. This enabled my friend who is in the tech space to do something in a few hours that had taken him unsuccessfully 3 months to try without AI. The AI solved it in hours. Now, AI at this point is not capable of full autonomy yet. I'm a filmmaker. I can manage it and recognize when it's doing what I want and when it's not. When it doesn't have a manager, when someone who doesn't have technical competency uses it, it's called AI slop. When someone with technical competency uses it, it is a powerful skill and tool amplification device. I'm not pro AI. To me, It's something that simply exists in this space. And while it's around, I'm going to use it. And when it gets better, I'm going to use the better version. If it goes away, I'll go right back to analog filmmaking because I enjoy the process. You get to make the choice of what your life looks like. But none of us exists alone. Not even the people who imagine themselves to be sovereigns based on the vast amount of money they've acquired. The money is a means of trade. It's a trade equivalency. You buy an orange for $1 or $2 or whatever the price is when you watch this video. What you're doing is you're saying the time I spent to acquire that money is worth the $1 for the orange and the infrastructure that it was required to produce that orange. Otherwise, how many views of my movie is it worth to get that orange? You end up in this vagary. What I'm getting at is that implicit within an economic system is the fact that you are coexisting with other people. Otherwise, money has no meaning. If I don't have to exchange one thing for another, meaning I have one thing, someone else has something else, we exchange it, which is a community, by the way, money has no meaning. If that other person doesn't exist and I'm the last person on the world, money is meaningless. You can use it to wrap your cigarettes or weed or wrap your fish, if that's your thing. Although I probably wouldn't do any of those things because money has weird chemicals in it that you probably shouldn't burn and inhale or leach into your food. I like these deep dives. I find them interesting. I explore this space and I find it interesting that I have to explore it. I love new ideas. I love looking at life, analyzing my own life, analyzing the way my brain and body works, analyzing community. I like seeing the intricacies. I acknowledge that I need to make money as a filmmaker. I also acknowledge that my films are being stolen by AI for the greater good. And I'm okay with that because I do know that it's for the greater good. I like what windmills look like, what wind turbines look like. I think they're beautiful. I think they're the perfect balance of organic and human engineering together. But even if I thought they were ugly, I still recognize that they contribute to the common good. And then I can see a beauty in them in a different way. Again, if I didn't say something in this video that made you upset, maybe you weren't listening, or maybe you're as awesome as I am. Just kidding. You're probably awesome in your own way. I'm okay with getting in trouble. I'm not going to be slotted into a liberal or fascist side. I see the value in both systems. I do not support the current political ideology, mostly because it expresses a level of cruelty I'm not okay with. But here's the thing. When liberals started getting power, they became hypocrites because they advocate against the prison industrial complex. They advocate against the death penalty, and yet they were casually imprisoning and socially murdering people by canceling them. That's a level of hypocrisy that's kind of mind-blowing. Is it the same as ICE? Absolutely not. ICE is horrible. ICE is unconscionable. Stealing people from their homes, destroying families and sending those people to a country they've never known, where they might not even speak the language. In the case of some of my friends and neighbors, if they were deported to Mexico, it would be a death sentence because the cartels would murder them. They're wanted people in their country. They deserve political asylum in this place. ICE doesn't care about that. ICE sends them there anyway. That's not okay. But neither is canceling people. Are there people who need to be quarantined? Yes, Harvey Weinstein needs to be quarantined. Bill Cosby needs to be quarantined. He is not safe in their current state to be in relative regular community without severe monitoring or restrictions. I acknowledge that. But I also believe that there is such a thing as redemption, that people can change, regardless of how bad they ever seem to be. They can get better, they can recover. There's restorative justice. I believe in that. I know it because I have experienced it personally, for myself. There's a lot in this. Seems like it's a bunch of divergent topics, but it's not. I'm basically trying to get people to wake up out of their political cloisters that make them think one way about a given topic. In this particular scenario, it's AI. And move them into recognizing that we share this space and that this siloed ideology that we all hold makes it impossible to have a functioning, viable democracy. You have to have dialogue. The dialogue must exist. Are there topics that you can't budge on? Absolutely. I will never support concentration camps. I will never support the prison industrial complex in its current form. I will never support the casual invasion of other countries or the subjugation of people in a variety of forms, be it getting canceled on social media or the death penalty. Those things are beyond a morality I'm willing to live with. I don't want the praise, but I do love when you come and tell me, hey, this really meant something to me. 4 or 5 people have done that about these videos, and it's one of the things that keeps me making them. It's not just iterative, fast company filmmaking. It's also about reaching and adding meaningful moral interrogation of what it is you believe and why you believe it, and the cascading effect of how you then choose to live. This video has gone on long enough, but you will see me next week.